Hi besties, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, hello, my name is Emily. I love to chat about the library, plants, and other things that I'm doing. And if you are returning, welcome back. Today I have a really fun video. I am going to be blind ranking all of the books that I've read so far this year. It is the beginning of May, so I'm just going to include the books that I read up through April, which is I think like 38 or 39 books, and that does not include any DNFs. And because this is so many books, I'm actually gonna do like a little bit of a different take on like blind ranking every single book that I read. So earlier last month I asked you guys for a number between 1 and like 35 or something, because that was what I had read so far, how many books I had read so far this year. And that is how I'm going to be picking the books. So whatever book coincides with like the number that was chosen the most in that Instagram story are the ones I'm going to be blind ranking. So I actually went through already and found the numbers that like were answered the most in my Instagram stories, and it's actually so funny how some of the numbers were like the ones that multiple people like chose. Like I think 22, 24, 7, those ones had like the most amount of, I guess, submissions. So it's kind of crazy how we like have the same numbers in our head, you know what I mean? But anyways, I'm only gonna be taking the top 10 numbers that were recommended to me, so that way this is really just like blind ranking all the books that I read this year as my top 10 so far this year. I don't really know how to like describe that, but of the 38 books that I have read so far this year, I'm just going to be picking 10 from the numbers that were chosen in my Instagram story, and I will be blind ranking those. So I'm actually really excited to do this because I've always wanted to do like a blind ranking type of like video, and I see them a lot on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that, but I just never did. And I thought it'd be a great time to do that. So I have my water ready to stay hydrated. I have half of my nails on. You can always tell the state of my mental well-being based on how my nails look. And I did go bowling this weekend, and I had to rip a couple of them off because they kept getting stuck in the bowling ball, which I hate ripping my fake nails off because it destroys your nails. It literally destroys your nails. Do not rip them off. But then after that, I just like was losing nails because it was kind of like at the end of the 2-3 weeks that they've been on. So I'm just waiting for the rest to fall off. If maybe I have time this weekend, I'll take them off and redo them. I don't know. That's not what this video is about. Just meaning, please do not comment on the state of my nails. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's just get into it. So I think I'm gonna start. I have, actually, hang on, let me see if I can pull this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I have them split. It's kind of on a split screen. So on this side, these are the numbers that were chosen the most in order of how many of like free, or I guess popularity is a good way to put it. 22, 24, 7, 32, 17, 14, 27, 12, 23, 13. And so those are the numbers that were chosen the most in my Instagram stories. And then I have my little reading tracker over here, which is how I'm going to figure out which books go along with the numbers. You know, you get it? Okay. And I have no idea what the books are that like these numbers coincide with. So this is truly like a blind ranking. Like I only read 4 or 5 books in the month of April. So like genuinely these books, I don't remember when I read them, what the number, whatever. So book number 22 that I read this year was All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. Wow, this is actually really hard to start with because I want to rank it number 1 because it was like the best book that it is one of the best books I've ever read. So okay, All My Rage, Sabaa Tahir will be number 1. That was actually really easy. Next was book number 24 that I read this year was Parable of the Sower. This is, wow. The problem with having such good reading taste is all of these books are like some of my favorite books. This was actually a reread for me. This is actually one of my top 5 sci-fi books that I have ever read. And I made a little video about it if you want to check that out. But that's hard because All My Rage was a new read for me, but Parable of the Sower was a reread for me. So should I just put that as number 2? I might just put that as number 2. Okay, slots 1 and 2 are taken up now. That might be perfect, and I might also regret it. I don't know, we'll see, but fuck it. Book number 7 that I read this year was The Next Chapters by Haley Koss. Okay, this one is actually, So this was a novella, and I listened to it in audiobook, and it is a sapphic romance. I think one of the main characters has like a later in life queer awakening, but basically there are these 2 best friends from college, and I can't remember their first names. But the one always knew that she was a lesbian, or at least liked women, and has been in love with her roommate for so long, but her roommate was dating like men and was going on all these dates with boys, and every time she would like come back, she would hang out with the roommate that was in love with her and be like, I fucking hate men, like, you know, complaining about how the date was going. And then so they like have talked about like what the perfect first date is and all this and that. So the book goes between then and now they are together. But the roommate, who has always been in love with her, knows like what her girlfriend's now perfect date is. So they're like planning the perfect date for her girlfriend and like wooing her, and then they like get married and have kids, and it's very, very, very cute. But it goes back and forth because like what's happening now, you get backstory about why she's doing like what she's doing, and it was a very fast read. I did like it, but I think there have been a lot of really, really, really good books that I read this year that I'm just gonna have to put one of these like kind of down at the bottom. So I think I'm gonna put this one as number 8 because it's not the worst book that I've read all year, but I just read some really, really, really good books, and I think that this one is like bottom to mid. Okay, so the next chapter is by Haley Koss, is going to be going as number 8. The next book that I will be ranking is the 32nd book that I read this year, which is Model Home by River Solomon. This was also a really good book. I'm actually kind of regretting doing this because this is kind of hard. This was a really, really, really good book. So I read this for, well, I borrowed it from the library for the Trans Rights Readathon, but I was in a little bit of a reading slump, so I didn't read it for the Trans Rights Readathon, but I did read it earlier in April, and it was so, 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 so good. I've only read The Deep, another book by River Solomon, so I didn't really have too much of like an opinion on like the writing style whenever I was going into it, because The Deep was a novella and I listened to an audiobook, and you know, like I feel like listening to a book in audiobook and then physically reading it, to me, I pay more attention to like the writing style whenever it is written and I'm reading it with my eyes versus reading it with my ears, because with my ears it just kind of sounds like a podcast, and I don't know, that's just how it works for me. So anyways, the point of me saying that is because this book pulled me in so far just from the writing style. Like, it was written so well. So the story is about 3 sisters whose parents mysteriously die in their childhood home, and they all have left their childhood home. They had like not a great childhood growing up, so they all have to go back to their parents' house, the house they grew up in, and figure out what the fuck happened to their parents. And by doing that, they kind of have to come to terms with a lot of things that happened to them growing up. A lot of secrets come out. It is kind of told in the way of like a haunted house, and it was very, very, very good. So how do I want to rate that? I think I'm gonna put this as number 5. Middle of the road, really good. You should definitely read it. Yeah, number 5. The next book to rank is the 17th book that I read this year, which was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This was also a really good book. I think that this is actually the first book in like the trilogy, the Sworn Soldiers trilogy. This was one of my first books by T. Kingfisher, the first book that I read by T. Kingfisher I didn't super love, and I'm glad I gave her another chance because I actually really enjoyed this entire series. This definitely has a lot more of like a horror aspect than I would say like the other books in this series, because it was definitely a lot more like folklore, like plant animal horror, and I love that kind of shit so much. This is actually another novella that I highly recommend that you pick up, and I think the number that I'm going to rank this as is number 7. I think I'm going to rank it as number 7 out of 10. It was really good, but 7 is calling to me, you know? So the next book to choose is the 4th book that I read this year. Oh geez, that was like first thing this year. Number 4 is The 7-10 Split by Karmen Lee. This was a really fun book. I was just talking about how I was going bowling, or how I went bowling last weekend, and this is a romance book about bowlers. It was really freaking cute. I love Karmen Lee as a romance author, and I think that this is actually the first book in one of her like romance interconnected series trilogy, or I don't know if it's a trilogy or if there'll be more, I don't know, but I love all of them. They're really cute. I think this one I'm gonna put as number 6. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it as number 6 because it was really good. I really liked it. I'm not a huge romance person, and honestly, it feels like number 6 is kind of, you know, middle of the ranking. I think that's a good place for this book. So that means I have 4 books left to choose from: 27, 12, 23, and 13. And I have 3, 4, 9, and 10. Oof. Okay. Let's just get into it. Next book is the 27th book that I read this year, and that is The Everlasting by Alix E. Harrow. You guys are gonna hate me for this, but this is gonna be at number 10. I'm so sorry. I don't get it about, it's not that I didn't like this book. It was just so, I think it was just so, hang on. Let me get my words right before I get canceled. And y'all start coming in the comments like yelling at me. I think that this book was so hyped up that it became overhyped in my head, and I thought it was going to be way better than it actually was. And as I was reading it, I was just kind of thinking like, this is it. Like, this is what you guys are like crashing out over. I didn't really like it was okay. It was just fine. So yeah, this is my ranking. I'm so sorry. It's gonna be at number 10. The next book, the 12th book that I read this year, was Where the Drowned Girls Go. Oof. I actually wish I had put The Everlasting at 9 so I could put this at 10. This was okay. This was another okay book. When I read it, I didn't realize that there were 6 books before this book that I probably should have read, so that's on me. That's probably why I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I could have. I can't even tell you what this book is about because I don't remember. I know that there is like, it's like a school for wayward children. I think that's like literally the series title. So yeah, this is gonna be at number 9. But if you are interested in what this book is about, I actually read this as part of my 10 books in 10 days reading blog, which I will link somewhere on the screen for you if you wanna watch it. Next is the 23rd book that I read, which was Friday Black. This is a dystopian book that is so good. It's a series of like small short stories, and it kind of just talks about like America. And it's so good. I highly recommend everybody go and read it. The author, Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, wrote one of my absolute favorite books, Chain Gang All-Stars. This book, again, like, they've solidified themselves as an auto-buy author for me, so actually I'm so glad I have spot 3 open because this is absolutely going in spot 3. I probably would have put it at spot 3 anyway, so I'm glad that that's still open because, yeah, that's where it's living now. So the last book that I need to rank is the 13th book that I've read so far this year, and that is going to be in spot number 4, which was a Spindle Splintered. There's a fly in here, sorry. That's not a number 4 book. That's not a number 4 book. I didn't really like this book. You could tell that it was written in 2016. You can tell that The Fault in Our Stars was like a not really an influence, but like the kind of commentary and the kind of like memes and the kind of stuff on Tumblr that was going around during that time. You can tell that this book was influenced by the 2016s. And being 10 years later, and it's actually so funny that this book was also written by Alix E. Harrow, because this book actually probably would be at like the bottom of my list. Should I just move some things around? Because this is like my own challenge, right? Like, I'm doing this myself. Like, I could just move things around if I wanted to. I think I'm gonna move things around. I think A Spindle Splintered is gonna go at the bottom. Hang on, I'm changing my mind. I'm gonna put this as number 4. Okay, this is what my blind ranking of the 10 random books that I read this year, and I think I'm actually gonna go through and then tell you what my actual ranking is. I think that sounds fun. That sounds fun, right? All My Rage, I'm gonna keep as number 1. Parable of the Sower, also gonna keep as number 2. Friday Black, number 3, absolutely. Number 4, I'm gonna push up Model Home to be number 4. Number 5, I'm gonna push up The 7-10 Split. Number 6, I'm gonna push up What Moves the Dead. Number 7, push up The next chapters. The next chapters will be number 7. Number 8 will be The Everlasting. Number 9 will be Where the Drowned Girls Go. And number 10 will be A Spindle Splintered. So I was actually really close. I was really close with ranking these books. I just had to move literally like 2 things. I think that's a win. This was a fun challenge, and I feel good about this new and improved list. This last list. Yeah, I like that. That's a good list. That's a good ranking. If you have read any of these books, let me know. Let me know if you would have ranked these differently, if you felt the same way that I did about some books, The Everlasting. And if you think I'm wrong in any of these rankings, you can also let me know. That's fine. You could do that in the comment section. That's okay. You could do that. Well, that's all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I have new videos coming every weekend morning if that is something that you are interested in. I live, laugh, love the library, and I live, laugh, love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!